good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. And thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. I am Tony Lynch. I am your host. And as always, I have an amazing guest for you guys. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun. So get your questions ready. And before I bring her up here, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, without further ado, I want to bring on my next guest. You guys help me welcome Uma to the show today. Uma, how you doing today? Thank you for joining.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm doing great. How about you?
I am doing well. Now, before we get started, tell people who you are and where you're from and about the work that you do.
Sure, thank you. I am Uma Patil, a holistic coach and childhood trauma healing expert. I'm from India, and I'm a coach and I help people to heal their childhood trauma and thrive in their lives by activating their purpose.
Wow, that is amazing. I want to say thank you for the work that you do. And just to talk about childhood trauma, just to touch on it a little bit. A lot of people never really understand how much their childhood trauma affects them as they become adults, right? Because we tend to hold it, or in a lot of cases, we're taught not to deal with those things, right? Like these things happen, right? And then when we become adults, we become these messed up adults running around here still holding on to the things that happened to us when we were children and not really understanding how to fully function as an adult.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely right. Rightly said. Most often what happens is like we are told to just deal with it, and we're not even aware. A lot of times we're not even aware that we've had experienced childhood trauma. Only until something really hits you, and then you start wondering what happened.
That's very true. That's very true. And I can only speak for myself and maybe a few of the audience members out there. Thank you guys for tuning in as well. And as always, guys, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to get to them as we're going along this conversation. I had my fair share of childhood trauma, and I will tell you the things that I started doing as an adult, I really didn't pay attention to, right? A lot of failed relationships, a lot of anger issues, a lot of trust issues and things like that. Afraid to let people get close to me because I wasn't fully aware of their intentions, like whether or not if they were there to try to do harm to me or anything. To be honest with you, I didn't want to give people that chance to try to do something to me. So I was quick to walk away from people, all of those different things. It wasn't until I was 42, 43, somewhere around there, where I realized how messed up I was and made a decision to go back and heal those parts of me that was damaged and things like that. There was a lot of accountability, a lot of forgiveness, things like that, and that's why I say thank you for the work that you do, because you actually help individuals walk along that path to find that, right?
Yeah.
Now,
thank you. Yeah.
Now, my question would be, how did you get into this work of healing, helping others heal from their childhood trauma and helping them find their purpose?
Yeah, thank you for this question, Tony. Actually, I really had no idea that I would be doing something like this, I think about 50 years ago, right? So the only problem I was facing was experiencing stuckness at various points in my life. And I never even understood why things were moving in this way. And the biggest stuckness that I experienced was when I was trying to conceive and have a child. And I was not able to do that. When I was not able to do that, as a woman, my question to the creator, the universe, was like, who am I really? And if I'm not supposed to be a mother, what is my role here or my purpose here on this earth.
Nice.
Might sound like a really big question coming from a person who had no idea about purpose, no idea about universe, creator, and all these things, completely unaware.
Mhm.
But the question kept going on in my mind. And at this point, I was asked to connect with a life coach who had just moved from Harvard to India. And they told me she's going to help me conceive. So I began some work with her, doing some sessions with her. But I guess in a month's time, I had to undergo hysterectomy.
Mm.
And so it meant that I was never going to have children. And then I went and questioned her that I came to you to have children. But here I am, ended up with a hysterectomy. So she told me that probably, you are meant for a bigger purpose, not just to take care of two children, right? I was like, okay. Because I'm paying her, she's just trying to console me. And that's the answer she's giving me. And I was not really okay with that answer. But she persuaded me to join her 3-part course. This was almost like about 12 years ago, and I really don't even remember what exactly it was. Because I was a dentist by profession. I had completed my post-graduation in dentistry and was working as an academician. And so I had no clue about life coaching, no clue about psychology, very little clue about psychology. I wouldn't say no clue. And I joined her program, and every time I joined her program, she asked me to set an intention at the beginning. And since I badly wanted to have a child, I didn't know what else I needed in life. I had no idea what I wanted from life. I had no goals. I had no vision or no purpose. So all I did was just prayed for my ailing grandparents to pass away smoothly. Like one was 99, 92, and another was 83, but my granddad had dementia and my grandmom had almost reached a vegetative stage.
Mm.
And I complete the first part. I prayed for a grandparent, and by the end of the course, I get the news that they are not there anymore. So they passed on. So it's like, oh, this is strange. And this happened on the third part. I prayed for my uncle who was ailing with pancreatic cancer and was in his last stage. And at the same time, my husband, who was a software engineer, was struggling with issues at his work. It was not his workplace, but his commute. The distance to his office was too far, and he spent most of his time on travel, and that's why, we hardly could get family time. And so, like, my intention that I set for that course, that part was one for my uncle to pass away smoothly, and another was for my husband to get a job which is close by to our premises. But by the end of the program, I get to hear that my uncle passed away, and my husband was asked to move to the UK for a project. And you would be surprised that when we moved to UK and we found a place for us to live, our apartment was 5 minutes away from his bus stop, and his office was 15 minutes by bus to the office.
Wow.
Oh my God, like that's when I became so aware of setting intention, having a goal or having a vision. And since I was moved to UK, I did not want to pursue my dentistry. I thought I wanted to know more about myself. I wanted to understand what I really want to do, because dentistry was never a profession of my passion or my choice. I wanted to be a doctor and help people ease away their pain, right? And so I thought I'm going to give myself a year's break and see what I really want to do. Around this time of 1 year, being in a new country, not knowing anyone, and not having children to look after, so I didn't really have much work to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my hubby would go off to office at 8 in the morning and get back only by 6. And he got promoted, had a lot of work on hand, and so he would mostly be busy with office work. That's when loneliness and depression hit. And when I was hit with loneliness and depression, even before I moved into depression, I was just ruminating my past and looking at how I had led my life and how I could have done things and didn't do, and what I could have done or how I could have been, and the way things went for me. And I started kind of all the time blaming myself for the things that went wrong in my life, and how I didn't show up in my work, how I didn't really give my 100% when it came to studying for my post graduation, and I took 10 years to complete. I mean, take up a postgraduate course after my undergraduate course. And I just started becoming aware of all my faults, and I was so dejected. And that's when I went into depression, and I sought help from the NHS, and they asked me to do a cognitive behavioral therapy course. They did some coaching. I was offered some coaching, and I got back and decided to do. I was actually doing a yoga program at the gym. And I would have a conversation with the yoga teacher because I hardly had any friends, and I would love connecting to people. And so I would have a chat with her. And she one day told me that your philosophy is so strong. Why don't you become a yoga teacher? And I could not afford a yoga teacher training program in the UK. And so I did some research. And I also thought that India is the motherland of yoga, right? That's where yoga originated. Why not me go back and do a course from there? And so I came down to Rishikesh here, which is like the capital for yoga teacher training programs. And I joined a yoga teacher training program, and I came back to UK to start teaching. But as I was teaching, I went on to teaching yoga. I started realizing so many things that were affecting me, right? Every time I would step on the mat, I would question, who are you? Who do you think you are to teach people yoga where you have just completed a 2.5 hour course and you're standing on the mat and thinking that you can lead a class? So imposter syndrome was hitting me strongly.
Yeah.
I would want to create and craft beautiful classes for my students, but I failed because procrastination was one of my biggest enemies.
Mm. Yeah.
And I had big dreams, but I realized that I'm really struggling to achieve them. It was really hard for me sometimes to just get out and even lead a class. So I started wondering, is this really the right profession for me? Am I doing the right thing? So I was always doubting and questioning myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a networking event where someone referred me to my Reiki master. And I started taking some Reiki sessions with her. And that's when I started becoming more self-aware. But at the same time, she told me that you have childhood trauma. I said, you must be kidding me. I'm my parents' favorite child. Why do you think I have had childhood trauma and I do have no memory? And trust me, I had no memory of my childhood at all. I
Mm.
never felt that I had experienced any trauma.
Wow.
And that's how my journey began. And I moved on to this path. And in 2019, we moved back to India, and I started taking up classes. But at the same time, I just told one of the students that I'm also into healing and I do offer healings for people. And she referred somebody to me. And from then on, it was like clients just were flowing into my practice, either by word of mouth, or they would find me or reach out to me for yoga classes. And then when I spoke to them about the Reiki healing, they opted for my healing and coaching sessions, and things were going really well up until we hit COVID, I think. And during COVID was unfortunately, was one of my best times because, everybody was experiencing so much of stress, people were going into depression. And so my practice was full.
Okay.
Post COVID, we moved to a different town, and oh yeah, there's another story before that. Sorry, yeah. Even when I was during COVID, I connected with my hypnotherapy mentor, and this was through one of my common contacts I had in the UK. I just did a challenge. I participated in a challenge that he was offering, and in that challenge, I filled up my name for a raffle, and I won the raffle. And he offered me a free diploma in hypnotherapy program. And it literally was like the universe had sent it my way. And when I did the program, only then did I realize that I had experienced childhood trauma. And all these patterns that were showing up in my life were because of childhood trauma. I knew that I had also patterns of, anxious attachment. I was always worried that people would leave me, or I was not accepted by people. People didn't love me and things like that, but I really didn't know the origin of where all these came from.
Okay.
And having been married to a partner who is an avoidant attachment style, I had struggled in my earlier years of relationship. And I could wonder why, we were not able to really connect deeply. And the struggle and the strive was always on to create that deep bond with my partner, which I really yearned for. And I think during this inner child healing course or program was when I realized that, yes, I have experienced trauma and so has he. And that's where we have developed these things. And that's why we are who we are in this present day.
Yes. I got a question.
Sure.
What sort of childhood trauma did you begin to identify? To help you address those things, right? Because I know a lot of people. And I know some of their childhood trauma consisted of child molestation, physical, verbal, mental, as well as emotional abuse. And in a lot of
Yeah.
cases, some people were going to church and was being spiritually abused there, right? Through religion
Yeah.
and all of those different things, because you know, but these are things that we never really think about, right? That really affects us, right? Um,
True.
we talk about being children of narcissists, right? And things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We really think about that neither, right? Until we really
Yeah.
get older, because we get so used to the norm that we think that
Yeah.
everyone is supposed to be this way, right?
Yeah.
And so, in a lot of ways, and I know, including for myself, I used to seek out people that I was that gave me a sense of familiarity. So when I did things in return, it wasn't a surprise. Or when they did certain things, it really didn't surprise me. It was like I always expected that person to do it,
Expected.
right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and how crazy is that? How crazy is that?
True.
So what were some of the things that you found out after you realized that you experienced that childhood trauma that helped you have that aha moment and to begin to do that work?
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I want to go back to my childhood story.
Mhm.
So what happened was at the age of 4. So yeah, I lived in a village with my parents and my grandparents. So I was really the apple of their eye, right? I was the only child then, and but they lived in a village, and so the schooling was not really great. And my parents were pretty well-to-do, and they wanted to give me good quality education. So at the age of 4, my dad sent me away to my uncle's home, which was which is now the capital city of the state I am in, right? and it was for educational purposes. But of course, I don't think parents then had this awareness that they had to. There was no emotional connect that I had with my parents, and it was just like I was told that I'm going to be sent there, and they never really asked me how I felt about it, or did I have any fears or apprehensions coming up. But the
Mm.
only thing I do remember even now was my mom, when she was sending me away, would always ask me to be a good girl, you know, be nice to people and be a good girl. So when I was moved to my uncle's home, all I kept thinking was that probably I've done some mistake, and that's why they had sent me here. So if I'm going to be a good girl and I earned the badge of the good girl, and I'm going to be called back home soon. So I mean, for a child of 4 years, I would even I mean, 5 or 6 years, I used to wake up at 6 in the morning and help my aunt in the household chores. I was just yearning to get this good girl badge all the time. I became a people pleaser.
Mm.
I started developing this good girl syndrome, wanting to say yes to everyone, and completely lost my childhood. I would never go out to play with my cousins. I lived with, like, my uncle had 3 children, so I lived with 3 cousins and my uncle and aunt. And all I did was, whenever my cousins went out to play, I wanted to be the nice girl. And when my aunt wanted them to come back home, I would go and call them back, and would
Okay.
not even stay back for 5, 10 minutes to play with the children. So I completely lost my childhood. Like, don't remember having played, don't remember having been really free. But besides this, also, uh, because I was like sent away, this is the abandonment trauma I experienced, right? And so I started with bedwetting at a very young age. And because I used to bedwet, they used to make me sleep separately. And that made me feel all the more rejected and unloved. And I don't remember having slept well from that time on until my early 40s, until I began this.
Wow. Wow. Now, I have I want to go back a little bit because you mentioned a couple things like being around your father or watching your father go through the stages of dementia, and learning of your uncle who had cancer, prostate cancer, and things like that. What was that experience like, right? Because I have a really good friend, and that's something that she specializes in. She lost her husband to dementia, and she now runs a podcast, a very very successful podcast, and she helps caregivers, especially those who are dealing with those that have dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that, and she does amazing work with them. And so everybody's experience is a little bit different. So how did that shape you as the person that you are today, watching your parent struggle or go through dementia?
My uncle went through prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, and at that point in time, like, I had really a strong bond with him. I think that was the reason why I was like literally praying that he, passes away with less pain and smoothly, right? And that's when I started also connecting with that empathetic nature of mine. I never really knew that I had that empathy or I was compassionate, because I think, at least until I really know myself, from the age of a little bit of self-awareness, from late 20s to the late 30s, I thought I was very impatient, very kind of self-centered, and always thinking about myself. But then I was really surprised to see these qualities in me. Even when I look back now, I think, oh, did I really do this at that time? Think for somebody else, because I was so, so, so lost and absorbed in wanting to make people love me, that I think I used to really snap very hardly, was very impatient, and always took everything that everybody said or did in a completely wrong way,
Mm.
thinking that they were doing this for me and never really thought that they were so, and that is why they were behaving in that manner.
Okay. All right.
So observing people go through the suffering helped me to become more empathetic and compassionate, is what I can say. That's how this experience has shaped me.
Okay. I'm glad that you said that, right? Because we experience people, right? We
Mm,
experience through being in the moments with them. One of the best human experience that I can always offer someone is just being able to experience you. And everything that you've ever gone through, the traumas, the ups and downs, the ins and outs, and things like that, and to be a part of that, to be in that moment with them as they're experiencing those different levels that have shaped them,
yeah.
has always kept me full of grace and appreciation of that,
Mhm.
right? To be able to be,
Yeah.
you know, let me just put this in context a little bit. So, when a person is experiencing an episode of childhood trauma, they tend to go back to those moments that is actually happening. And so, what we may see, in the present, may not be necessarily what's happening to them from the past. And I think once we can have a certain realization in that moment, we're able to walk them through the various different years to help them begin to heal, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and again, speaking for myself as a man, I never really understood that. I never really
Mm,
understood that
true.
because most men we get told, hey, man up, right?
Yeah.
We don't have time to do that, and things like that. And so we stuff it down deep down inside until it manifests itself in the present day. And a lot of times people we get misunderstood on so
Stood.
many
Yeah.
levels, right? Because
Yeah.
no one wants to hold themselves accountable for the damage that we do, it, you know,
True.
based upon the things that have happened. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. It has filled me with compassion and grace and appreciation and empathy, as
Yeah.
well as it deepens my sense of purpose as I begin to move forward every step
Yes.
in this present day dimension that we live in. Right, to always be present, but also never to forget where I've come from. Um,
Yeah. So true. Yes.
right, and because that helps me connect to other people. It does help me connect
Absolutely.
to other people, and I think that for a lot of us out here in this world that do this work, and we've got some amazing people that are doing the work these days. I want to say that a majority of them, if not all of them, have the same concept when it comes down to servitude to others. Which I may add, that is the biggest sense of purpose that I myself have ever had the privilege of obtaining, was that sense of
Yeah.
servitude to other people, because I realized that the world was so much bigger and that everything that happens was so much bigger than me. Like, I'm so small in the grand scheme of things, and to connect with other people helps to illuminate that path,
True.
um, which allows others to be present, right? And
Yeah.
to find their purpose as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Very rightly said. And that's really wonderful that you're throwing light on this fact about illuminating the path and connecting to the purpose, right? Otherwise, I think like we've never been spoken to about purpose as we are growing up, and we just get on with life and we move ahead. And most often, I don't think any of us really ponder about purpose in our younger days.
Mm-hmm.
And when we want to think about purpose, we've been told that you get a life, you come here, learn a skill or educate yourself, do get into a job, find a partner, get married, have children, and educate them, and then help them find a job, get married. I mean, this is a cycle, right? We just move through the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And we really don't ever wonder or even ponder about what is our true purpose.
Mm.
But also, when we look at purpose, there are many people who give different concepts for purpose, right?
Right. That was
Like
going to be.
yeah, for instance, right now, our purpose here in this moment is to have a conversation as we are having. But with just by having this conversation, we are sparking some people's minds, touching some people's heart, and also creating awareness to certain people about certain things.
Right. Yes.
And our purpose may shift and change from moment to moment, from time to time. Nevertheless, despite being purposeless, we're always on a purpose as per the Creator's will. That's what I understand. But despite that, I know that we all have a bigger purpose.
Right. I want to add to that because I totally agree. And when we talk about purpose and things like that, I was just listening to someone a couple of days ago, and it really made me think about the definition. Well, come up with my definition of purpose in this world because I found out what my gift was, right? And so I live within that. And
Yeah,
when most people think about purpose, we actually tie in success and all of these
very true.
variations in it, right? But no one can really identify what success is because there's so many different interpretations of it, right? You may find someone
True.
who identifies success and purpose as having $1 million in a bank account, or having 10 to 20 successful businesses and things like that. But no one really ever talks about having a very prosperous family,
Yeah,
and how the well-being of the family is and things like that in accordance with what they do within the world.
very true.
And
True.
what I came up with that my purpose was to, one, as I came into this world, when I leave this place, I want to be the same as what I came,
Mm.
right? I want to be clean again. And
Yeah,
that means that within living within my purpose gives me the dedication and the drive to not only maximize the creativity of my gift into this world, right? To leave a legacy behind, but to
yeah,
also um, experience more of my authentic self, not just on this realm, but in the multitude of dimensions that exist
got it.
with the
Yeah,
world, right?
yeah,
And to leave empty, and that's
yeah,
what I clean. When I leave here, I have nothing else left within me, meaning that I've put it all out there. I've
yeah,
done the work. I fought the good fight. I've given back everything that has ever been given to me. As long as my cup is being filled, and I don't look to other people to fill my cup. My cup is filled through my grief, through my gift of grief that was given to me by the Creator.
yeah,
And the more I pour out, the more is poured in, which comes with wisdom and grace,
yeah,
and
yeah,
infinite knowledge, right? And to me, that's a beautiful thing. And again, I'm only speaking for myself. I cannot speak for anyone else. When it comes down to that, everybody will identify what that means to them as they begin to move through this life.
yeah,
And the definition, more the definition of purpose. My success is not determined on how much money I make or anything like that. It is determined
Absolutely.
on the people that I came across and affected them in a more positive way, to be an example of,
Yeah.
hey, anything is possible if you're willing to be creative in this world. You can have those
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
um and to be always free to be able to move within my gift, right? And I
Yeah.
speak upon that highly, because that is the main thing that I've always that is the main thing for me now is my gift. My gift has given me everything that I've ever needed, which was a sense of worth, sense of purpose, sense of drive, and and the understanding of the work that comes along with it, right? Um, so I
That's
want I want to ask this question.
beautiful. Sorry, yeah, that's a beautiful description. I want to say that, and such a deep meaning to what you have said. Yeah,
Thank you, thank you. But this again, I only speak from my point of view and things like that. And so this is how I made sense of it as I began to grow and continue to grow into more of my authentic self, but to take bits and pieces of the surrounding levels or parallels, dimensions, to be able to connect with those other ones, to make sure that everything I do here affects those different variations of myself in such a positive way that that they can still have that same impact as well on the people that surround them.
yeah,
And so I pose this question to you. Um,
sure.
what what made you change into actually saying, yes, I want to do this work that
Yeah.
you're doing now?
Yeah, well, so I think we stopped at the level where I met my hypnotherapy mentor and understood about my childhood trauma, right? And that's when I realized that my entire years from my childhood until I became aware of my childhood trauma had really shaped how I was as an adult. And so I realized that I also started realizing that I had so much untapped potential within me because
Mhm.
I started becoming aware of my untapped potential and that I wanted to do something. So I also had a memory as a childhood that when I think I must have been in the eighth or the ninth grade, and we had in the English language, we had a chapter on Florence Nightingale, who was
Mm,
the nurse, right, who would be taking care of people who in the wars. I really can't go back and remember the story completely, but she wanted to ease people's pain. And she was tending to soldiers who had come back, fought in the war, and come back. And I remember saying that I want to be like her, ease people's pain, right? And that's why I decided to become a doctor, and I never became a doctor. And then when I was going through this entire journey of healing my own inner child trauma or the childhood trauma, I started becoming so much more freer as a person,
mhm,
started becoming more livelier, and I could feel a sense of joy within me. And then I realized that this is something that I want to carry to people. This is something that I want to share with people. And I was doing coaching along with energy healing. I started introducing my inner child healing programs as well along with that. And along the way, I also connected with another teacher because I felt that, even then around that time, I was feeling that there's still something missing within me and I want to achieve something bigger, something more. And I did not understand where this yearning came from.
mm,
And that's when I joined another program on quantum regression integrated therapy healing. And during those quantum regression sessions that I underwent for myself, I in the one of those sessions, I had a vision in the session, and the vision was that I was talking to large number of women, and I was a speaker, and I was like motivating them and inspiring them, and I was like, where did this come from? I don't know, like, this was not even in my awareness or my area of my future vision. And so
Mm-hmm.
this gave me an idea that there's something more for me, meant for me. And I started, like I was just in quest, I can say just in quest. And when we moved to a different city from where I was then, I think after 3 or 4 months of having consistent clients, one fine day, I know my work just hit a roadblock. I stopped getting clients despite doing all that I did. Like I showed up on my social media, I did posted all kinds of contents, created reels, videos, like nothing was working. Nothing was working.
Yeah.
Like people, like I said, people would flow into my practice. I had never actively done any marketing, but it was at this point in time that I really strived hard and just couldn't, manage to get clients. That's when I connected with I think he was my first business coach. I connected with him, and then he reached out to me and said that I see that you're so confident, you're putting yourself out there and you're talking to people. I was calling myself a self-love coach because I thought that my mission here was to teach people to love themselves and connect with that self-love within them. But I was not able to really deliver my message properly, or not sure, but I never really was able to connect with my clients or with the people who I don't even want to use the word client, right? At least the people whom I'm really meant to connect and touch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he said that I think there's something that's missing. And there's more to this than just self love, and I can help you. And because I was really, I would like, I could use the word desperate here because I was desperate to like, deliver my work, reach out to more people with my work. I hopped onto his coaching program. And that's where I realized that, you know, um, I had a lot more of purging to do, a lot more of inner work that I had to do on myself. And when I worked with him over the 3 months, that's when I realized that my actual role here is as a childhood trauma healing expert, having had the lived experiences and it having affected multiple areas of my life, from my relationships to my career to my even my I can say like financial flow and wealth factor. And that's when I decided that this is the area that I want to work in, and these are the people I want to help.
I like that. I like that. I want to touch on something um, that you had said earlier about depression,
Yeah.
right? Because I think a lot of people, when an individual decides to step into their purpose, their true authentic purpose, and begin to follow that path, I don't think we really grasp the work that needs to be done, not only within ourselves, but outside of ourselves as well, in order to change and be the individual that is suitable for that role, right?
Yeah.
I see this happen all the time. Um, a person, a person may find their path, but not,
Mhm.
and once they step into it, they begin to walk upon it, and then life will come and go. We have to clear this stuff out. And I think we kind of miss or misinterpret what that means because, we will question ourselves. Imposter syndrome is real. Trust me, I know.
Yes.
I think we all have experienced this. Imposter syndrome will come up and you may be on top of the world, but you will have one instance that will turn that knob just a hair and you will begin to doubt everything, including your very existence of and the reason why you even started it,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I speak from experience. Like when it happened to me, and it has happened to me several times. It seems as the closer I get to the mark of achieving my ultimate goals, the more
Yeah.
imposter syndrome comes in and go, hey, yeah, no, we're not going to do that because who do you think that you are,
Yes.
right? To go
Yeah.
out here and do this work and things like that. And I will have to say that has been the hardest battle that I've ever had to endure was to go back to imposter syndrome and tell that individual to sit down and just watch me work. And it took
Yes.
me a long time. Did I go through the repression? I sure did. I locked myself in the house. I didn't have any more drive to want to come out and do anything, right? Let alone, the work that I do now, or, want to communicate to or articulate to individuals what I was going through because of the lie that I had convinced myself of was that no one cares about what's going on with you, Tony. No one cares
So
about this, man. They don't care nothing about this because of the simple fact of they still need you to be the person that you was, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So, and I hate this term, but the term "man up" kept coming into my head, like man up. No one cares. Man up.
Yeah.
Just keep your head down, shut up, and just keep it moving, right? Because these people, these individuals don't care nothing about you. And then, of course, here comes the thought and the struggle of wanting not to be here anymore, right? To feel
Yeah.
as if I was useless. And that
Mhm.
even threw me down into a deeper depression, right?
Yeah.
And there we go. Now it's like everything that I had been doing was now worthless.
Yeah.
Like I might as well, Uma, I thought to myself, and this is just recently too. This is just recently.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, it was
Totally.
crazy how it happened because I said, you know what? If I was to erase all of my social media, if I was to
Mm.
just stop what I'm doing right now, no one would know. No one would really wonder where I am or anything like that. Because I thought about it. I was like, things was just not working out well. And I said, you know what? No
Yeah.
more podcasting. I'm just going to stop everything right now. I'm going to erase everything as if I'm non-existent. Right? Let everything just fall apart. Take my phone, throw it in a lake or a river or something like that.
Mm.
Pack up with a little bit of clothes that I need. Go to the mountains, find myself a cave, and just live out the rest of my days there, not having to worry about anything.
Mm.
And I really believe that's what I wanted to do. And again, depression, anxiety,
Yeah.
the whole imposter syndrome had me believing that that was probably the best path. Now, I say that to say this because I realized that that was a childhood trauma response. I had gotten
Absolutely.
so good at disappearing,
Yeah.
and when things got challenging, that
Yeah.
it became a natural survival response.
Mechanism. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so it took me a little bit, and it took some really great people coming to me and saying, no, we have this. And that's, here lately with the individuals that I am connected with across the board,
Connecting.
from LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and even in real life, and everything. These individuals was calling me and saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. Is everything okay? Right. And when I told them, they were like, look, when that word came in, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
whoa, huh? They was like,
Yeah.
we will get through this. We don't
Yes.
stop just because these things happen. This is why we do the things that we do. And I would tell you that word right there was probably the strongest, and still is in my mind, the strongest two letters uh,
Yes.
in
We.
the alphabet in the alphabet, right? because
Yeah.
that's a sense of community and togetherness. That's a sense of strength.
Absolutely.
So when I see people coming and joining in, I go, it's we are in this together. We
Yes,
are
absolutely.
in these conversations together. We are building these relationships in order for us, for we the people, we the ones who are in this work, so we can
Yes.
be bigger and better and stronger in order to help our communities heal.
True. Very
Right.
true.
And to me, that was that moment where I went back and told imposter syndrome. I said, "Look, you either sit down and shut up, or I'm going to duct tape you and hang across the side of the building with lights on,
Yeah. Yeah.
exposing who you are." Right?
True.
And people may laugh about that, but
Love that. Yeah.
yeah, I went back. I said, "Look, you either sit down, shut up, or I'm going to duct tape you, put you across the side of the building with a sign on you saying, 'Hey,
Yeah.
this is the Joker. This is the Joker.'"
Yes.
You're right, and it was like a face to everyone else, like, "Hey, these things do happen. It is
Yeah.
part of the process that you must experience in order to get to where you are. Anyone
Yeah.
that they don't experience it, I would have to question them and say, is this the path that you're? Is this the true path that you're really
True
been
path.
to be on?"
Yeah.
And I want to
Yeah.
get your thoughts on that. I want to get your thoughts on that real quick.
No, you're absolutely right, Tony. And I really like, I love the way you are able to explain, like, even imposter syndrome and how it hits people. And talking about the way you're talking about, like, depression comes, it's actually coming as a path to your spiritual awakening.
Mm,
Like, it's only when we experience these downs, and when we are in these downs is when we are actually questioning life. And only when we get to question life are we willing to see what's beyond that, right? If
yes,
we
yes.
don't experience this, and if we are not going to face that, and like, there are people, I do know, it's with no offense to anyone, that who live with depression all their lives, not having, I would really like to say, not having the guts to question that, right?
Yeah.
But you need to really, even questioning the depression takes courage. That deep hidden courage that you have, which is behind, or hidden underneath the depression, we need to master that and then question, why is this happening to me?
Mm,
And
yeah.
what is this actually teaching me? And what is there beyond this?
Mm, I like
And
that.
I think when all of us, most of us who are on this path, to find our purpose, path to find a deeper meaning for our own lives. And like you said, I totally agree with you when you say that purpose and success don't go in parallel. Success may mean different things to different people, but purpose, yes. Like, even being a, a beautiful mother to a child is also a purpose of someone, right?
Mm, yeah.
They don't have to really achieve anything big. They don't have to get accolades, awards, or have $1 million in their bank to be a good mother. But then, if the childhood trauma is stopping you from being that good mother, you're actually not fulfilling the purpose.
Right. Right.
And so this spiritual awakening, this path to spiritual awakening always happens either when you hit, like, depression hits you, or when you come across some really great situation in your life. And that's what's trying to really awaken you through your true self, to connect with who you truly are and what you are here for on this earth.
Nice. I want to go back to something where you said about COVID, because I think a lot of us that are doing this work, even for myself, and I love that you said this, that was the time that I really strived. That was the time where the
Yeah,
door began to open up, and I really began to delve deeper into the path of not only understanding grief, but having a relationship with the grief that I had experienced, and
yeah,
allowing it to move me in the direction that I am, to go through the broken relationships that I've had with individuals, to go through um, the ridding or the shedding of my old self and accepting the new
Mm.
parts of me that were beginning to manifest itself into the world. And it's crazy because if I never thought that I'd be doing this work. And in the moment where the world was in chaos, where it was questioning
Yeah.
and going through the addiction, the really heavy addiction, the abusiveness that was going on into the world, the mental health illnesses that would begin to be more
Yeah.
prominent, and starting to really show itself. I think
Yeah.
that's when all of us began to understand the shine that we carry, right? Because we
Yeah.
were that light and we began to shine bright. Now
Yeah.
it's like if you look around the world, those that are doing this work are so brightly lit that we are no longer denied. People have been finding themselves in these more challenging moments and saying, "I want to do this," and
Yeah.
to watch um, to watch where it was when I first started to where it is now has
Yeah.
been this beautiful transformation and awakening of the grief workers, the trauma informed
Yeah.
coaches, the life coaches, the death
Yeah.
doulas, the recovery coaches, and things like that. To really see them shine within their gifts has been
Yes.
this remarkable, and I can't stress that, this remarkable story
Yeah.
to watch. And I'm just like, wow, I am the kid that sits back and watches everything in amazement with my hands on my cheek, just like, whoa, this is crazy. This is wild, right?
Yes. Yes.
But more people are starting to speak their truths.
Yeah.
They really are. They're starting to speak their truths.
Yeah.
And
True.
I find that to be the most powerful thing that we can offer the world is our truths, right? Because we
Absolutely.
never know who's listening. And I will give a big shout out to everyone who's been tuning in on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, also YouTube and everything else, everywhere else out there that's listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you know anybody who can benefit from these conversations, share this with them, please. And if this is your first time tuning in, go to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button for me. We're trying to get those subscribers up there so we can get the algorithm to get these stories out there a lot more. And even if you don't decide to subscribe, I'm okay with that. I just appreciate your support in tuning in. Okay. And if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section. Other than that, sit back and enjoy. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the conversations that we're having right now. And so, Uma, what has been the biggest challenge after going through the things that you've gone through in building a very prominent um, business in what you're doing?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that question. So, if I really look back, the biggest challenge and my biggest hurdle has been the pattern of procrastination that I've
Mm,
harbored ever since I was a child. And it's like I think it's just that inner demon that I have to learn to fight, and every time to stand up against it. Like, yes, now the effort is much lesser, but when
mhm,
I look back at my own journey, even as a kid, right? Like, I think I was in my 10th standard, and that's when we take our board exams. The memory I have is 10 different books, subject books open in front of my eyes on the table, me trying to decide which topic I'm going to read, and then start with one, probably not even read one page, and then jump on to the next.
mm,
And
okay.
not being able to finish even a single subject. I'm really grateful that God gave me good IQ and a good grasping power. That despite not being a hard worker and not doing all the hard work, I think being intentively listening in classes got me through with good grades. But nevertheless, I'm sure you know the challenges of entrepreneurship. And if you are a procrastinator, I'm sure, like, it's really, really difficult to take your work forward. And that's has been one of my biggest challenges. And I think that's something over the years doing this work has helped me to overcome that.
Yeah. I'm going to add to that because you're absolutely right. I used to be a huge procrastinator, right? Get these wonderful ideas and things like that. And then when the slightest little hiccup would happen, I would back off of it and doubt myself on the level to where it would destroy most people. And those who understand the path of entrepreneurship, you know exactly what I mean, and things like that. And before I had the support around me and that I have now, I would have to talk myself back into it, right? But I would stop and go, I'm not going to do this. And it would take me months, months and months of arguing with myself. The biggest thing about it was, and I really remember all of these instances very, very strongly, is that the more I would push away from it, the more it would grab me in my heart. And it to
Absolutely.
a point to where I couldn't stop thinking about it.
I
Right.
hear you.
Every time I turned around, I would be in a conversation with someone, and all of a sudden, my conversation would go right back to doing what I said I was going to do because I felt that strongly about it. Like it was personal to
Oh
me.
my God.
It
True.
was so personal to me. And then it would get to a point to where I couldn't sleep. I would dream about it and wake up like, oh no, right? Because I began to add on all of these different things that came along with it. Like I don't want to be that
Yeah.
responsible, right?
Yeah.
And then it would get to a point to where I would just go, okay, all right, enough. I'm going to do it, right? And that was a process for me. It was like
No,
getting
I
back.
totally hear you.
Yeah, it was a fight. It was definitely a fight. Do I do it now? Yes, I do. I'm a
Yeah.
little more surrendered to it now than I used to be. But I tell you, that process of understanding and going through that
Yeah.
was such this. I find it funny now. I find it really funny, right? Because
True.
it would begin to come back and go, "You asked for this. Remember when
Yeah.
you asked for this? This is part of which I was like, no, I didn't ask for this. I just said I wanted to do that, right? And then
That's
this and that are both part of the same thing. And I was like, well,
it.
can I really just not have that and just do this anyway, right? And so
Get it.
yeah, it was. I used to have these conversations with myself, and these are the conversations that I now have with other people
Yeah.
that are through something similar. And I often have to remind people when they say, "Man, you're full of wisdom," and things like that. And I tell them, I was like, "No, it's not that I'm full of wisdom. It's just that I made my fair share of mistakes along the way, and I'm just
Yeah.
sharing experience with you because I don't want to see you make the same mistakes that I
Make the
did."
same.
Right?
True.
If you see where I've come from and the struggles that I've had to endure in order to get to where I am,
Yeah.
you would look at me like I was dumb or crazy or something like that, right? Like why would I keep putting myself through this? And simply put, because I don't know nothing else.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how. If they took everything away from me right now, I know how to do this. I
Yeah.
know how to do this. But if you took this away from me, I wouldn't know how to do anything else in this world.
Anything else? Very true.
I
Very
would, I
true.
would be
So
lost,
beautifully said.
right? So, and to me, that's what it's about. Find a thing that you cannot fathom doing, that you cannot fathom not doing in this world,
Doing.
and do that.
Yeah.
and then you perfect it. Well, not really perfect it. You keep beating on it till it begins to crack itself open and go out into the world. And then you affect people in such a positive way that you give them the pieces of you,
Yeah.
um, in order for them to be have that strength to pursue what they want to do. Because to
Yeah.
me, I'm just having fun. I
Yeah.
love everything about everything I do, and I think most of us can speak from that
That's absolutely.
from that point of view as well. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So like you said, right? Like if this was taken away from you, then you wouldn't know what to do. I have come to that point now, and I really can't think about doing anything else other than this.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else other than this. Like I was a successful dentist in all ways when you look at it, right? But that never gave me the sense of I wouldn't even want to use the word purpose, the sense of satisfaction.
Mm,
The way I go to sleep now is very different from how I went to sleep when I was in another job, being a dentist or a teacher. And there was something that was gnawing at the back of my mind, at the back of my soul, that, uh, some kind of a dissatisfaction. I really can't answer where that came from, why that happened, but there
mhm.
was some sense of dissatisfaction, some sense of, there's something more to this, there's something more to this. And I don't see that anymore. I don't feel that anymore. I really, really sleep very, very peacefully. And I wake up with a lot of joy and just for the next day.
Yeah.
And this was hardly so earlier.
I, whew, that is deep. I love that. I definitely love that. And with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and things like that. And I want to say, for everybody who's been tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in and just enjoying the conversation and things like that. And as always, thank you for your support. And again, I'm going to repeat: if this is your first time tuning in, head on over to that YouTube channel. It is down below. Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. Hit the subscribe button. It's right there on the bottom. See it scrolling across on the bottom. Go ahead and follow those simple directions for me. And I want to say thank you if you do that, and everything. And as you guys know, I run a nonprofit. That nonprofit website is www.mensgriefsupport.org. And if you guys would like to donate or something like that, please go there, donate there. Every little bit counts. This helps us to keep a place to keep creating this atmosphere for these men to come and have a place to be surrounded, be supported, by around other men. It helps me to keep creating more programs to get out there to help these men in these different areas as well. It also helps me keep the channel up as well too, right? And now with that being said, Uma, how can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Facebook as Uma Patil and with the same name on LinkedIn. And I'm on Instagram under the handle Sacred Wisdom Journey.
Hmm.
And of course, yeah, these are the ways. Also, my upcoming book, where it's a multi-author book, Faith Over Fear, which is going to be released soon. So just wanted to share that as well.
Nice, very nice. And one last thing, if you could leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with today?
Well, we all have that hidden gem within us. And it's, I think it's our duty and responsibility to dig for that hidden gem so that, we can allow it to shine in this world.
That is truly, truly amazing. That is truly amazing. And now, with that being said, everyone, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Great Let's Talk About It podcast. Thank you for just listening in. And if you shared it around, I appreciate that as well, too. And if you did subscribe to the channel, I definitely appreciate that as well. And again, all that information is down below. Uma's information is in the description on the YouTube channel. So go please show her some love, give her some support. Go tell her that you've seen her on the podcast, and and everything else. And with that being said, you guys, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time because I know you guys got a beautiful day ahead of you. I want to see you guys go out there and enjoy this beautiful day. And no matter what's going on in your life, just remember, it's just a simple moment in your journey. Don't let it control your day. All right. Extract that information, move on to the next one. Keep your head up, keep a smile, and as long as your heart is beating, just remember, you are still here with a purpose. Your purpose is what we're all here for, and we're all in this together. So, as I said before, this is no longer or a you and me type thing. This is a we type thing, and keep that in mind, please. With that being said, you guys enjoy your day. I love you, and we're gonna see you guys in the next episode. All right, peace.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.